Hi, Amir. Welcome to the NT podcast.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, nice to have you here. So, can you quickly introduce yourself for our audience, please?
Awesome. Hi. My name is Amir Shevat. I've been building developer products for about 20 years now. Started a few small startups, then moved to smaller companies like Microsoft, worked on
Okay.
SharePoint and Windows Mobile with developers. Then went to Google, worked on Chrome, Cloud, Android, all around developer relations.
Mhm.
Created the startup program for Google, created the experts program from Google, and then joined another small startup called Slack, who was actually small at the time. Um, and
Okay.
I was developer relations #1 there. And I built the team. At the end, I was the director of developer relations. And then I moved to a small company called Amazon. They acquired a company called Twitch, and I was the head of the platform there, the developer platform. Connecting with developers around like EA and Blizzard and Riot about connecting their game into Twitch. I've also authored a book around bots, calling Designing Bots by O'Reilly.
Nice. I think it was like kind of the among the first few books around conversational design, and I actually bought the book and enjoyed it. So it was
Thank
really
you.
nice.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
Talking more about conversational AIs, can you share maybe one of your recent projects related to that?
Yes. We had the COVID and a lot of people lost their jobs. So I was thinking, how can we create a new experience around hiring um, that is around conversational interfaces that will help people hire all these people back? How do we rethink about hiring and interviewing people? So I'm going to
Oh,
share my
okay.
screen. It's called
I think
Interviews.
I will give you permission for that, but
Oh, yeah, permissions is good. Thank you. Um,
Where-
Here you go. I share my screen, and here I'm in Slack. So basically, the solution is called Interviewsly. It's actually
okay.
in the directory, in the Slack app directory, and it lets
Mhm.
you create interviews very easily. So let's start with Joe B, Bob. And then we can say that this role is a product manager and
Yeah.
a junior product manager. We can put the candidate LinkedIn. I don't have it here, so I'm going to put an NA and write something like a note to the team that is interviewing. This is a great candidate. Okay, and then I submit. What it does, it creates a channel, a conversational channel for
Okay.
that interview, and it puts the candidate information at the top, and then it
Mhm.
has a format for how do we interview people. We have a partnership interview and we have a leadership interview. This is all specific for product manager. If it
Sure.
was an engineering, it would be different. Now
Oh,
I
okay.
assign someone. I can say, okay, Amir is doing the partnership interview. So Amir gets a message. Amir gets a message that he's been invited to an interview with all the candidate information, and now I get a message with all the questions that I need to ask. So these are the proficiencies, the skills that I need to check, and
Interesting.
example questions for each of the proficiency. And now I can, for example, write my candidate feedback. So I'm talking to you and I'm interviewing you, and I can say,
Hopefully, I'm doing
uh,
it right.
really, right, yes, and then so you can see this has changed, and now I can submit my final rating. I can say, yes, you are awesome, strong, yes,
Nice.
please hire, and I can submit my feedback. Now it goes back to the original conversational channel
Sure.
and shows that I've finished my interview and provided my feedback.
Okay.
And it doesn't publish my feedback because I don't want to influence the other interviewers.
Oh,
But
I see.
I can like click here and hack around, and it shows for each of the interviewers, it shows what they've assessed and
Yeah.
what was their impression. So
Yeah.
basically, if I stop sharing, basically it's a simple way to coordinate and assign interviews in a distributed way. And it uses the conversational interface to facilitate that.
And I see that the entire like interviewing process and even the creation of the interview questions are done within Slack, right?
Yes, everything is within Slack. Everything is, you don't need to go to the web.
Yeah.
Everything is done in
Yeah.
conversational interface, and it blends the ability to converse in the team, like saying, let's talk about the candidate, let's talk about the things that we want to have with the candidate, together with the actual process of interviewing the candidate. It's the entire interface inside Slack, and it combines the conversations that people have over the candidate in general. Like, let's say, yeah, I really think that he's a good fit, and like they talk in Slack together
Yeah.
with the process of interviewing this person.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think, quite interesting approach because it reduces all the complexity when people want to
Exactly.
do
It,
the interview, right?
exactly. It brings together, one of the magic of the conversational interface is that
Yeah.
it brings the interaction to where people are. So usually people are
Okay.
talking to each other, and
Okay.
when the system and process fits into the conversation, then that's a delightful experience.
But what would you say like are some of the still remaining challenges like conversational AIs has today to build these type of experiences?
So um, I think AI is still not there.
Sure.
Understanding humans is pretty hard, even for
Mm-hmm.
humans. So
Mm-hmm.
understanding humans for machines is pretty hard. I think that's a big challenge. I think there's places where conversation is not the right medium. So, for example, if I'm selling you a shoe, I can talk from here to whenever, and you will not be convinced. But showing you something really changes your opinion. So sometimes conversation is not the right interface. The way I look at it is through a conversational funnel. And I have that in my book. I'm talking about like, if I'm doing a
Mm-hmm.
web interface, how many steps does it need to take until you reach your target? You want to buy a shoe. So from
Okay.
landing on Amazon.com until you buy a shoe, there's maybe 5, 6, 7 steps. Um, and then you need to compare that with a conversational funnel. If I talk to
Mm-hmm.
you and I do the same thing,
Interesting.
how long does it take you to choose and buy the shoe? And
Okay.
if the conversational funnel is simpler and easier, then you should probably check the conversational interface. And if the web interface or mobile interface is simpler, then you should probably go with that.
What do you think about like hybrid models, like where they have the conversational structure, but they are mixing it with interface elements to
Yes,
make it
I,
simpler, you know?
I love it. I'm pragmatic. Whatever
Okay.
works. So
Right.
combine conversational interface within mobile apps.
Mm-hmm.
Lemonade is doing a great job there.
Sorry.
It's called Lemonade. It's an
Lemonade. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Lemonade is doing a great job taking a conversation element and putting it in a mobile app.
Yeah, yeah.
Same goes in reverse. If you have a conversational interface and you want to put in UI elements, by all means, please do it.
Okay. And what do you think about maybe chat versus forms? Because in the end, in a chat, you are also collecting information, right? And
Yep.
with forms, you are also kind of asking people to do certain type of inputs, right? Which one
Short,
do you think is better, and when would you use one versus another?
short forms, conversational interface, long forms, forms.
Ah, interesting. Why do you think is that?
Because if I'm going to ask you 100 questions, you're going to kill me. But
Okay.
if you're gonna ask, if I'm gonna show you a form with two questions, it's gonna be, why am I putting it in a form? Just ask me, right?
Okay.
So again,
Okay.
coming back to be
Okay.
pragmatic, if it's small, I would say up to 10 questions or even 5, I would probably opt in for a conversation interface because it's more delightful and I'm used to it. But if it's a long form, if it's like the IRS forms, I wouldn't do the IRS forms in
Hello?
conversation.
That would be too much text and too complicated for people, right?
Exactly.
Okay. And finally, can you maybe share a contrarian opinion about the future of chatbot?
You want a contrarian opinion?
Yeah, yeah. Let's get this controversial.
Okay. Um, I think that for certain aspects of the world, we're not going to see software anymore. We're going to have
What do you mean by that? Wow. Okay.
so software is going to be transparent, just like we had like electricity became transparent, like water became transparent. So
Oh, I
it's going to
see.
become AI in general is a type of technology that when it works, you don't say AI. You don't say my car is powered by AI. You say my car drives by itself. I think the same thing is going to happen with conversation interface. We're going to not talk about conversation interface. It's going to be a part of our life. So the TV is going to talk to us. We're not going to say, oh, that's a nice AI. It's going to say, yeah, I talked to my TV. I told her that I'm bored today and I need to see something interesting. So I think
Wow.
we're going to see, it's going to change the way we look at software, and it's going to be much more immersive in our life.
Interesting. Interesting. That's a very good way to wrap up our session here. Really appreciate your time and your contribution here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Excellent.